Hey everyone, welcome back to Toshkin House. Today I'm getting the living room, kitchen, and dining room ready for Christmas. I'm starting in the living room. The tree is already up. I didn't film it because, well, it took a minute. I'll share more of my ideas for this tree later. We're styling my console table first. I'm starting with natural elements, just some pine cones and bells as a bowl filler on my stool. Then I'm adding a few coffee table books. I love using books because they ground the space and add a little height. After that, I'm adding my hurricane vessel. I have been hunting for one forever and finally found this one while thrifting. And to finish it off, I'm adding ornaments as a bowl filler, pine cones, ornaments, anything works. It just gives your eyes something pretty to land on. Next to my handmade bowl, I'm adding these beautiful wood risers my husband made for me. I wanted a little extra height for my DIY pottery that I turned into bells, and I love how it all came together. Bringing back my vase and the floral arrangement I used in my fall styling because I just loved how it looked and I didn't want to change it, but I did add to it though. So I added these beautiful hydrangeas I picked up from Hobby Lobby. And to finish styling my console table, I'm adding a few more coffee table books. This time I'm including this ornament from a local artisan. I fell in love with his work and had to buy it. Normally I would style this in my tree, but this year I'm using it as a little bookmarker to bring in Christmas without overdoing it. Now let's talk about this wreath. I've had this wreath for 13 years and it was time for a refresh. If you saw my Instagram stories, you might have caught the process. I reshaped the wreath into more of an oval form. Usually they're rounded, but I wanted to try something different. I added some thrifted pottery that I turned into bells, and I reused ornaments from the original wreath. I never throw anything away. I hand painted some of the ornaments since I'm really getting into hand painted pieces this year. And I love how everything came together. It is so pleasing to the eye. Moving into my living room, I decided to add ornaments to my dough bowl this year. I wanted to keep it simple since the tree is the focal point, so I avoided adding too much color. I love how it feels festive without screaming Christmas. It's just subtle and minimal. Now it's time to talk about this tree and my vision for it this year. Last year, while watching all the holiday movies with my family, which we do every year, I told them I really wanted a miniature size Rockefeller Christmas tree for next Christmas, and well, here it is. I absolutely love how it turned out. I have a little over 6,000 lights, including the ones that came with the tree. I'll show you a quick before so you can see the original lights. I used my thrifted basket and I darkened it because my husband preferred it that way. So his wish is my command. I also added a tree skirt inside the basket to finish it off. The camera does not do this tree justice. It is so bright and so pretty in person. And yes, color lights sometimes get a bad rap, but I say do what you love. And so this year I went for it and I'm so happy that I did. Next, we're heading to the kitchen. I cleared everything out so we can get to the fun part, and that is styling. I'm starting with the back perimeter. I'm adding this vintage scale along with the handmade ornaments I made last year. I will link that video down in the description box below if you want to check it out. I wanted to place these inside the scale because they kind of remind me of cookie shapes, and it felt fun to display them here before Well, they disappear, but not really. And lastly, I added an orange slice to finish it off. On the other side of the scale, I brought in my butcher block cutting board and wrapped them to add some visual interest. I also placed my mother in law's vintage bell on one, not only to think of her while we're in the kitchen, but also it gives the display more depth and character. Front of my cutting board, I'm adding this vintage candy dish and filling it with some of our favorite candy. We usually get advent calendars for the girls, but a few years in, they really didn't like the candy inside. So this year, I decided to use candy we know everyone will enjoy. I also brought in our mirror and used a dry erase marker to count down the days until Christmas. It's a fun, creative way to celebrate without buying extra stuff or worrying about storage. On the other side of my range, I'm bringing back my classic pieces. These usually stay here. I'm adding a ribbon to dress up my mother-in-law's artwork that she made herself. I wanted to give it a little Christmas flair this year. Next, I'm adding my vintage piece, salt, pepper, and my olive oil. On the other side of my kitchen, I wanted a floral arrangement, so I'm starting with this vase. I'm adding greenery and a variety of florals. I got everything on Amazon and I will link it down below if you are interested. I wanted the florals to tie in with my dining room tree, which is giving you a little hint. The last piece I'm adding is this vintage item next to my floral arrangement to finish off this area. Later in the season, I'll add candy canes, but for now, I just want the piece to shine on its own. To finish off the kitchen, we're styling the island. I started with my glass tray and brought back my vintage crock. I added a ribbon with a bow and incorporated greenery with some fruit stems. I've really been drawn to fruit this year. Usually I will use a Christmas deer, but this year I decided to use my everyday decor. This horse that was originally in my living room, and I dressed him up with some bells for Christmas. Next, I stacked a few cookbooks to bring in some height and add a simple wreath with this gorgeous handmade pottery. So simple yet stunning. And of course, we can't forget food while in the kitchen. So I added some walnuts to give more variations in height. I also brought in a vintage tea light holder, and to finish it off, I added a tiny thrifted nativity. I just love how small, clear, and timeless it is. And the last area we're styling is the dining room. I got everything laid out on the table and we're starting with the Christmas tree. I started filming, then I pressed pause, and then I forgot to hit the record. So you'll see the after instead. I ended up using my Texas house garland and I absolutely love it. I placed it in the dining room tree to add extra texture. It's super lightweight, so you don't have to worry about weighing down the branches. Here's how my dining room tree turned out. It's moody, non-traditional, and I love it. I used a mix of real and faux greenery plus fruits. I also added my DIY handmade ornaments for this year. They really pop in the tree. I also incorporated the dry leaves I also DIY this year. So if you haven't seen those videos, I will link them for you. I use fewer lights so the moodiness really shines through, and I'm so happy with how this tree turned out. To add a little extra texture in my dining room, I decided to bring in my wreath. I kept it really simple with just a ribbon, no bow. I wanted it to feel free flowing. It gives that simple, elegant look without overdoing it. I'll be placing this on my window. Now for the table scape, this year I decided to cover my rustic table to give it more of a traditional look, and I love how it turned out. You can absolutely iron your tablecloth if you want, but with our lifestyle, that extra step, it is not happening. So we're letting the wrinkles shine. I wanted to keep things simple and natural, and instead of buying a table runner, I used what I already have on hand, which are two curtains. It's such a great way to repurpose fabric for a tablescape. For the centerpiece, I decided to do another floral arrangement. I wanted it to feel really free flowing and organic with lots of interest. So I mixed in different types of faux florals to get that look. You can totally use real flowers for the same vibe. If I live closer to my favorite floral shop, I would have grabbed some, but I already had plenty of pieces at home, so it's saving me time and money and gave me the same effect. And the best part is I don't have to worry about anything drying out, so it'll last a while. And this is how my dining room turned out this year for Christmas. I absolutely love it. It feels so sophisticated. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Let me know in the comments what part inspired you to try something new in your home. If you're new here, welcome. I'm so glad you stopped by. And if you're loving my content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We would love to have you here. The last video before the full Christmas home tour will be the front porch, so get ready. I can't wait to share that with you guys. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I know we sure did. If you're enjoying the videos, please give this one a thumbs up. It really helps my channel in the YouTube world. I thank you all for tuning in and watching, and I will see you guys next time.